Hey, and welcome to Week 12 Boom Bust Fantasy Football, brought to you by the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Tonight, I'm joined by Kyle and the Professor, bringing you their booms and busts of the week. Professor, how you doing tonight, my man?
Good. How are you, Corey?
Oh, not too shabby. Just ready to learn some stuff to help my team win this week. So excited to listen to you, and then I guess I'll listen to Kyle a little bit too. I don't know if it's going to be very helpful, but how you doing tonight, Kyle?
I'm doing good. Not as holly and jolly as Tony over there with the Christmas lights bouncing off his dome, but doing pretty good.
Well, hopefully he can deliver us some goodies tonight. And just giving you a hard time, I'm hoping you deliver some goodies tonight too, especially since you are match a closer description to Santa Claus than he does. So,
Dude, I got to grow the beard, but otherwise I'm spot on.
All righty, guys, let's try to eat this week. And Kyle, I'm not talking about cookies. Let's start out with our first player.
I'm out.
All right, Tony, Professor, I guess that's you going first. Who's your first player of the week?
Yeah, this kind of is a softball for me this week. Mr. Patrick Mahomes has not necessarily been a top 10 fantasy starter on the season so far, but this is a week where if you've got him, you want him in your starting lineup. And really, it has not to do with the elite talent that he possesses, but the matchup. This is just such a great matchup for him this week against the Carolina Panthers. I don't know of another team where you can feel more comfortable putting Patrick Mahomes into your starting lineup and let him rip it. So Patrick Mahomes, I think this week is definitely going to be on my boom list.
And that'll be nice for a change for those Patrick Mahomes owners that have felt slighted all season long. But
he might actually get to 20 points this week.
Hey, he did last week, and then 2 weeks before that. He's done it a couple times this season. But I agree. I think he gets to come out and kind of get in a groove here and just tear up that Carolina offense or defense and let that offense finally get rolling a little bit. I think they need to find a little bit of a groove there. So, all righty, finally get to enjoy some Patrick Mahomes this week. All right, Kyle, who's your first player tonight?
My first player tonight is going to be Tony Pollard, and I have him as a bust against Houston. This Houston defense has been really tough against pretty much everybody, every position this year. Probably one of the more underrated defenses in the league this year. Everybody's, giving Kansas City credit, and the Niners always get their credit and stuff. But Houston's been really, really solid on defense this year. And then when you look at Pollard's numbers, he just got done struggling against the Chargers and the Vikings. This is another tough matchup that I don't see him doing very well in. Definitely won't get a touchdown. That whole offense is bad. It's just bad. They're just not able to lean on the run. And even if they did, I'm not sure he could be efficient with it.
Well, you nailed it. They're not able to lean on the run. They're having to play from behind. They're throwing the ball a lot. We thought Tajay Spears was going to come in and eat into those touches. He's not getting a lot of touches. In both the last 2 games, Tony Pollard has only had 9 carries in each of those games. The game before that was 28. The game before that was 20. So you can tell the trend is just way down. And Tajay Spears is only getting 3 in each of those games. So they're just not running the ball a lot. And like you said, that Houston defense is really good, and their offense is really good, so they're probably going to put up some points. Houston's playing at home there too, so I feel like Tennessee's going to have to throw the ball a lot, and I don't like that for Pollard. So, all right, who's your next guy?
So my next guy, let me give you a boom, Mr. Lad McConkey against Baltimore. The Chargers have been on a roll lately, playing pretty well. Justin Herbert's been playing pretty well. McConkey's been getting pretty good number of targets every game. And Russell Wilson's the only quarterback in the league who can't throw a touchdown on the Baltimore Ravens right now. So everybody else is throwing multiple touchdowns on the Ravens except for Russell Wilson last week when I needed him to throw one. I needed one. But, yeah, all that adds up to basically McConkey with a big boom week.
Yeah, McConkey's getting pretty good target share. And like you said, everyone's been throwing against Baltimore. even last week, George Pickens, without getting a touchdown, had 16.9 points in PPR scoring. So still got 12 targets, 8 catches. McConkey can end up doing the same sort of thing if he's healthy this week. I think he had a little bit of a shoulder injury, but if
he went back in and
if he's good to go, then I feel very comfortable with McConkey this week. All right, Professor, back to you, my man. Who you got next for me?
Well, I gave you a quarterback boom. I'm going to give you also a quarterback bust. And my bust quarterback on the week is Matthew Stafford. Made the mistake of betting against that Eagles secondary last week with Jaden Daniels, and it really stung. Not going to make that mistake again. That secondary is legit. Actually, the whole defense is legit. So Stafford is a guy for me this week. If you own him, I'm trying to avoid having him in my starting lineup.
Yeah, I agree. That Philadelphia defense is much stronger than I think most people thought they were going to be. If I remember correctly, they didn't start off the season so great, but they've gotten it together.
It feels like they've gotten better as the year's gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of young guys on that team.
And Stafford's had a couple big games kind of lately, especially last game against New England. He had another big game, but it was against Minnesota. Otherwise, he's been quite mediocre on the season and not very dependable, as have most quarterbacks this season. So then stepping in and going against a good D like Philadelphia, I'm not trusting it at all. So I like that pick a lot. All right, who's your next player?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you and go back to my boom side, give you a boom running back on the week. And this is a guy kind of been back and forth on in the season. We thought that maybe things could be shifting here in Denver. But Javonte Williams kind of sprung back up onto the fantasy scene last week. 9 carries, 59 yards, a touchdown. I also like the fact that he was involved quite a bit in the passing game with 5 targets. In this week, just the matchup. The matchup is just too good against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm really expecting some nice things from Javonte Williams against this week against this Raider defense, which is very, very soft and suspect.
Yeah, I agree with you. This Vegas defense is not good. And the last time they played, it was back in week 5, and Javonte had a little over 16 points against them. So that offense has gotten much better since then with Bo Nix and his improvement. So I like that offense as a whole, and they'll probably be playing with a lead for most of the game, if not the whole game. So I like that. Now, do I trust who's going to be the lead back in that backfield for the game is a whole nother question. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about it. Seems like they're kind of doing a hot hand thing. Or was it just a 1-game blip where Estime got all those carries? What do you think, Tony?
I think that Sean Payton likes to challenge his players. And, we kind of saw this in the offseason where he was almost projecting that Javonte Williams might not even make this roster. Almost challenging, throwing down the gauntlet here and saying, challenging him to step up and put in either greater effort or better practices. And I think Javonte Williams, for the most part, has answered the bell. I like the fact that Peyton is coaching this way. I think he's really trying to get his team dialed in for a playoff push and, into the postseason. I think just watching them and watching Sean Payton for years, I think he really likes Javonte Williams. I think Javonte Williams is the running back there. And Javonte Williams, when really pressed, has answered the bell. So I understand what you're saying, and it could be where he is maybe playing a little bit of the hot hand. But I think that this is Javonte Williams' backfield. I think Sean Payton wants it to be his backfield, and maybe just challenging with it, but take ownership of it.
Love it. Awesome. All right, Kyle, back over to you.
Yeah, I'm going to give him my other bust player. It's Chuba Hubbard against Kansas City. The matchup is one. Kansas City's ridiculous. But the other one is Jonathan Brooks coming back this week. I know we're not expecting him to get a ton of carries, But when you're looking at this tough of a matchup in a game where they're going to be playing from behind the entire game, like even that little bit of cut into that workload is going to hurt a lot. So Chuba Hubbard's not a guy that I'm looking to have in my lineup this week.
Yeah, even if Brooks wasn't coming back, making his debut, I wouldn't like this matchup against Kansas City. I don't like any running back against Kansas City, especially in Carolina's offense against Kansas City. Yeah, like you said, I don't know that Brooks is going to get that many touches. Man, what a tough game to debut at, right? But so I don't think he's actually going to get that much work. But the matchup is just atrocious, and I don't think this offense is going to do much of anything. So
yeah,
I'm avoiding that offense as a whole personally. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is sad for Hubbard owners because they've been riding him a lot this year. He's done quite well for himself.
They'll get a chance to use him again. It's just not this week.
No, exactly, including the next week against Tampa. But we'll talk about that another time.
That'll be a great matchup, yes.
Maybe he'll be on the other list next week. All right, Kyle, give me your last player, man.
My last guy is Jaxon Smith-Njigba against Arizona. Arizona's defense is not great against the pass, but what we've seen from JSN is he is the clear number 2 receiver behind DK now. Lockett, it's not Lockett. It's not fighting against Lockett. Lockett is a distant third. Now we've seen that in the target share over the last few games. He went from getting 6 to 8 targets a game to getting I think 3 each of the last 3 games. And JSN's done the opposite. He went from getting 4 or 5 to now he's getting, 8, 9, 10. And so in that offense against this matchup, loving me some JSN.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there with the target share completely swapping there. It's even better than you said, though. Last game, he had 11. The game before that, 13. So he's getting a large target share.
Okay.
Yeah, he's getting a large target share.
I looked at a lot of numbers today. I got
yeah. And like you said, then Lockett was going from 8, 9 a game to 3, 4, 3. So he's not as large part of that offense. And so I love that for JSN, who has been doing quite well these last few weeks. Alrighty. Tony, your last player. Finish us off here, buddy.
Yeah, guy I really like a lot. Kind of been a strong buy in him all season. Just don't like him this week. And I want to talk to him a little bit about him a little bit moving forward as well. And that's Kyren Williams with the Rams. I know I gave you Stafford, but this Eagles defense has been really, really stingy against the running back position. I'm not expecting a strong game from Kyren this week. The second part of that, and it has me a little bit nervous on him, not just this week, but also kind of moving forward. He has some nice matchups. The issue is he's not done a whole lot when both Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua have been healthy. Yep. The 4 games where they've had kind of everyone healthy and on the field, he's only had 1 game where he's put up some decent points. Other than that, he's been 12 points or less. So I don't expect him to get kind of heavily involved with the passing game as long as Puka and Cooper are on the field. So has me a little bit concerned about Kyren. But for me, at least for this week, I'm going to put him on my bust list.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking the same thing. When they have Kupp and Puka, he just doesn't get as much action. He's not as productive. But he just doesn't have to touch the ball quite as much. One of Kyron's strongest points being a fantasy back was volume. Volume. Getting 20 plus touches, runs per game. That's just his carries. And then his catching on top of that. So with those guys on the field, he's not getting that kind of volume. So he's not getting the same kind of point output. Now, granted, yes, he's still a top 10 running back on the season. But people, expect maybe a top 5 instead. But with that volume, and really he's only that high because those wide receivers were out so much this season because we see the kind of output he has when they're healthy. So yeah, I'm not liking him with those guys back. And then, like you said, that Philly defense is just tough and I think underrated. So I'm not loving Kyren this week either. All right, guys, I love those picks for the week. Hopefully they turn out good for us and very informative. Good luck to everyone in Week 12 matchups. I know that your spot in the playoffs are on the line, so best of luck to you.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.